Well, I want to welcome everybody today on this Zoom call. I am here with a special guest, Dr. Kieran. We are wanting to do a Zoom call. Me and Dr. Kieran have been talking a lot recently just about kind of overall what's going on right now in society, in the world with the coronavirus. We want to kind of go over things. We've been talking a lot back and forth of how we're trying to keep our own personal bodies healthy, keep our immune systems healthy. How do we keep a clear mind through this and keep a positive outlook and attitude and look at, through our thoughts of what's happening right now? How do we keep our souls fulfilled through this whole thing too? And how do we see the bigger picture of what all this is going on, all the craziness is going on, and how do we kind of support each other through this? So we've just been talking back and forth and some practical things that we're doing in our own lives. And so I brought Dr. Kieran on here, and I would like to welcome him. And I was going to ask you real quick, Dr. K, if you can give a quick intro and kind of a bio for the listeners so they kind of understand some of your experience and knowledge that you have.
Sure. My name is Dr. Kieran Kuykendall, and thanks for having me on here. And my background is functional medicine, functional neurology, applied kinesiology, holistic chiropractic work, incorporating neuroemotional technique, quantum neurology, work with lasers like the one you see back here. And I was in practice for 12 years in Austin, Texas. Loved it. It was fantastic. And then hit a wall. I saw over 40,000 patient visits. And the kind of folks that would come to me are the most difficult chronic cases. I really liked the challenge. I really enjoyed that. When other doctors couldn't seem to figure it out, I really loved the ability to just be able to really work hard to say, what is possible in this person's healthcare. That's where I started. Like many of our viewers, I started with my own health issues, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, anxiety, severe anxiety disorder. What's that?
I said so many of us do. That's usually what brings us to it. It really gets us diving deep when it's your own life and, trying to get
when we finally pay attention. Yeah, totally. So that was the thing that really shook me up and got me looking into it. I went to all of the allopathic physicians, all the guys in the white coats, and a lot of them really lovely, wonderful people. But you can't usually fix the health or the healing of a body by throwing a drug or more things into it. If you look at a river, I like to simplify things. You want to take things out of the river. We don't just keep throwing things in, cutting on things. A lot of it's very simple. And so, some of those things we'll go over today, but we wanted to talk a little bit about, the state of the world and the coronavirus and what we can do to really stay strong and healthy.
Absolutely. Yeah. And on that, Dr. Kieran, I would like to say, or I'd like to ask you kind of what is your overall synopsis and view of what's going on right now with the coronavirus and in society, and kind of what are some things that you're seeing?
Absolutely. Well, I like to use a lot of analogies. So like I said, I've seen tens of thousands of patients on tables just like this. And when a patient is laying on the table and they're like, oh man, I'm really scared. I'm really sick. I'm not doing well. My family's all banged up and I've got all these threats going on in my life. This is the moment within the hero's journey where you actually begin to look at what's going on in your own life. And so if you were to recognize that you as a patient, just like I was when I was really sick, laying on a table that with a doctor that saved my life, that's why I went into this work. Mm-hmm. It's fantastic, amazing, incredible work. It's amazing what you can do for people. It's unbelievable. And just nobody really knows about it. It's stunning to me. So but if you're laying on the table, you realize that inside of your body, you have an entire universe. You have trillions of cells being produced every day. Your heart's beating 110, 105,000 times a day. Your lungs are breathing 23,000 times and pumping somewhere around 63,000 gallons of blood through your body every single day. It's a living, breathing miracle. And your body's comprised of cells, and you have white blood cells, and they're phagocytizing and eating up bacteria and viruses and these kinds of things. And we forget about this until we get really sick and we're laying on the table. And that's essentially what's happening with us. And if we look at each one of us, myself, you, we're both individually cells of the body, of the biome of Mother Earth. And so right now, it's almost, I like to joke that the universe just kind of all sent us to our rooms to think about it. We've been in a state of frantic frenzy for, ever since, 2006 when the iPhone came out. But we've been in a state of frenzy and franticness for a long time. And
Mm-hmm.
those of us that when we were younger, we could look up at the stars and just relax on a hot day, outside. It's very different now. Kids aren't doing that. They're looking at game screens between you and infinite possibility of the stars. They're looking at the video games, and people are like, how do I make more money? How do I secure my this? How do I, and how do I conquer? How do I get more land? How do I buy more stuff? And we've consumed so much resource that we have to realize you and I are cells in the human body, or the earth body. And these are the moments in the hero's journey where the prince is laying on the ground and the dragon is over you, and you don't know in the story, the movie you're watching, if the prince is going to beat the dragon. What's this kind of moment that makes for a fantastic story of a human's life or as a global humanity. So this is where we're at. And so what I feel we really need to do is recognize where we are amidst all of this and what's possible in humanity. And what this is really about for me is just like when I have a really sick patient, whether it's cancer or MS or Parkinson's or some sort of serious thing, and the medical community has done the diagnosis and they said, here's your drugs, pat you on the back, see you later, alligator. What we do is we pick up the pieces and say, okay, this is how we rebuild your system. Drug intervention is great when needed, I'm not anti any of that. We just want to use our intelligence. But it's now where we have to really look at and say, gosh, what should I do? Don't get strung out on the media. Don't get strung out on the fear porn, which is a literal dopamine drug.
It is. Yeah. Fear is going strong right now in society, and it is like a drug, and it's spreading quickly.
When you're in fear, you're here. And you're not out, and I know you know this stuff, and we're just saying this because it's like when you're in your frontal cortex thinking, oh gosh, how much more toilet paper should I buy to keep up with the Joneses? You're not in the heart and where we need to be right now. So we're not easily fearful and upset and controlled, right, by a major media or government or these kinds of things. We need to draw near to ourselves. So that space that beats your heart and pumps the blood through your body, like we were talking about, whether it's a pew, right, like a bench at a church, or it's at home in prayer, or it's in meditation, like I do a lot of my work, working what I would call spirit through meditation. Draw near to that. That's what we need.
Connecting back to the spirit, to the divine. I agree.
Exactly.
That's awesome. That was beautifully put. And I completely agree with the collective consciousness right now. Like you said, we're at a spot where we're sick. The collective consciousness is sick. And overall, sickness is not a bad thing. It's just a thing. And it's a thing that brings us to points where we can kind of evaluate things, get more in touch with, back with our spirits and the divine, and kind of take a look at all the energies and stuff that we've created and systems we've created, and kind of relook at, these are needing to change. And I think a lot of people are on that same thing with a lot of systems going on right now in the world. With the healthcare, financial, all these different things, education system, and they were needing to change. And I see this as an amazing opportunity for some of that change to occur. Change is something that we try to avoid, I feel like, and but it's not necessarily bad. I think we lost a little connection there. Hopefully I got that in. So, but change is not necessarily bad. And so, it feels uncomfortable, therefore we kind of resist it. But I think these points are what kind of forces change, forces us to sit back and look at a lot of things. And I feel like that's what's happening right now. And, if we can sit back and look at these, I think it's beautiful on the other side, and some really amazing things and cool things can come out of it. So I completely agree with you on that.
Well, I just want to add one thing to that. It's like, absolutely. And the only thing that in some way this comforts me, and it sounds strange to say so, but the only thing that's certain is death. And every single day on this planet, 150,000 people on average, 150,000 people die every day on this planet. Just the facts, and the number one cause of death on this planet is birth. It's completely and totally fatal. Nobody's getting out of this alive. And so it's important to recognize that. And when you start to recognize it, you realize that there's no such thing as death in taxes. It's just death. And that your death is absolutely 100% without a doubt, unequivocally coming. And we run our whole lives from that simple fact. And in that, when things begin to change, right, if you use the koan of the life is a river, and things begin to change, It's life is a river, and sometimes they're going to get really turbulent, really rapid, really difficult. And if you just can let go right now and surrender into the unknown, doing what you need to do to stay centered and balanced, then change, it'll take you really fast, but you're going to avoid a lot of rocks. If you're trying to hold on, then the whole time you're not able, you're just grasping against the mud.
Grasping onto what you want. Yeah, your thoughts of what you think should be. Yeah, and the river is going to flow, I'd say, regardless. It's going to take you. It's, do you flow with it nice and gently, or do you grab onto things and make it a little more tough and stuff? Because life happens regardless. And I know we all know that we don't control what happens in life, obviously. And so, yes, releasing those kind of expectations and feelings of way that we feel like life should be for us to be okay inside, instead of looking at that same energy that you're fighting for that and saying, hey, I'm going to spend it internally to be okay. So no matter what happens, I'm flowing in the river, and that's kind of the way I look at it too.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah.
Thanks, man. Well, I'd like to get next into kind of into some broad things. Let's kind of go into some deeper things, practical things of what we can kind of do to kind of protect our mind, our bodies, and our spirit through all of this, and kind of some things that maybe I could share some things I'm doing. I'd like for you to share some things you're doing, and maybe some things that people could take home and do some little things at home to I guess overall keep their vibration high and to have a positive outlook on everything. So I guess let's start with kind of the body. What are so Dr. K, I guess, what would be some things right now within the body that you would suggest that you maybe you're doing, or that some people that you would suggest that are easy for them to do at home?
Sure. Well, I can make mention. I'm not going to say prescriptively like doses. You can look those up, research them, talk to your doctor. But things that are always great are vitamin D, right? Mm-hmm. Vitamin D3, cholecalciferol, which is D3. It's what you're looking for.
Go get the sun if you can. Go get a little in the sun if you can. I was saying the best way to get that is sunlight. If you can try to get a little sun every day, there's so much benefits to that, just to throw that out there.
100%. And because of this disruption of our gene, I believe that's come from the genetic modification of our food. I've run tens of thousands of blood tests with people and seen over and over and over again, vitamin D is low. Even oftentimes taking it, or people that are sitting out in the sun all day. Don't want to get too much into that, but sit in the sun and right now supplement. Yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
It's a crazy thing. Yeah. We've disrupted our ability to absorb the D, and that's a whole other conversation
with it.
Number 2 is vitamin A. Vitamin D, vitamin A are very powerful antivirals. And, the Merck manual, the medical, it's a manual that the doctors are looking at. You'll see that they can take very high doses. Now, I'm not recommending doing this, but that you can take up to 100,000 international units. I'm not telling you to do that, but without any sort of it was right at 100,000 international units, which is a super mega dose.
Yeah.
That would cause scaling skin and a little bit of stress on the liver. But other than that, there wasn't actually anything negative with it. So short term, look at dosages, ask your doctor. But vitamin A, along with vitamin D, is very powerful, very antiviral, really great for the eyes, really great for all the body's processes. Another one is liposomal vitamin C.
Yeah, it's a big one of mine, what I do too as well. Cool. Lipospheric vitamin C is a good one, but liposome, I always say liposomes and water-soluble type, that's something we talk about too, is something I really look into on my supplements, just for the absorption rate being higher. Liposomes are basically designed, guys, for you to take like vitamin C and things that are, people would normally take in supplement form, and they bind them and wrap them in liposomes or liposomes, which are fatty structures that help bind to your cells a lot easier so that the medicine's absorbed more and you have a lot higher bioavailability in the body. It really, really works. Vitamin C, like he was saying, and a lot of these vitamins, if you can find them in liposomal form, Lipospheric, I believe is a good company, and Quicksilver. I believe, those are tend to help me better than the ones I stick to personally.
Yeah,
but
I totally agree. Those are great. You get them in the little packets or the squirt, sometimes they don't taste so good, but that's because of the liposomal aspect. And the reason that is I think you and I had talked about it before, is where, a cell, which is what you're made up of, millions and millions of these is a multiple phospholipid bilayer, and that's why they bind. And so it just, the science, just getting like rose hips really isn't a good use of your time or money. It's not very bioavailable, and just ascorbic acid, so it's much better.
Or the vitamin C's are some that are just straight powder. A lot of these ones and supplements, I'm just because that's the industry I'm in, I get to see a lot of them are mass manufactured from the same spots, which are then bought from mass sources all around the world. The powders are usually very refined and not highly bioavailable for the body. So you typically have to take a lot more powder to achieve the same thing you would on a liposome or a liposome. And overall, like just some of the chemicals and things they're using to get and the solvents used in the process to get the powder are also kind of trace amounts in there as well that are usually not put on labels and things as well. So yeah, just some things to think about. Liposomal is probably better if you can find it, for sure.
It's the same thing with, I'll just point this out right now, just since we're on the conversation. It's all about the biochemistry and how your body, it's not what you eat, it's how you absorb it. And so if you're not absorbing it because it's not as highly absorbable as a phospholipid, again, it's what you absorb, otherwise you have expensive urine, as they say. And so a perfect example of this is calcium. Oh, calcium, I should take calcium. I heard it's good for this. I heard it's good for that. Well, what do you go look at any bottle of Centrum Silver. Look at the standard stuff that's at Target or any of these big box stores, or really like any big box store, like supplemental. And if you look at it, it's going to say calcium carbohydrate. If you see that on there, throw it in the trash or just put it back on the shelf so you don't get arrested, because it's junk, because that is sidewalk chalk. And the fact that we can put this into a bottle and tell people it's going to help them, it actually helps people create kidney stones and stuff. So be aware that there's Albion Labs for when it comes to calcium, or calcium chelate or calcium citrate. It's all about the biochemistry, and we really need to know that. And that's how it also breaks down with your CBD line, that there's a lot of science that people just don't know. And then the weary, buyer just buys whatever is most affordable, and that's where they usually get stuck. So that's a good thing to know.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then on that, like I said, most affordable is what most people are looking for. But if you're really looking at that, I think when you take a look at how much vitamin C you have to take in pill form to equal the same bioavailability you would in liposomes, you're actually paying less for the little bit more expensive bottle up front. The studies that we've done and a lot of the ones that, from pharmaceuticals, from liposomes is, you're getting anywhere from 70 to 80% more, absorption rate than a typical, supplement. So I think it's really important. And just like you're saying, these are isolate forms of vitamin C and molecules. And, one thing I always look for in products is, ones that are more holistic and have a full natural kind of plant-based, more herbal extractions. There you're not only getting like the vitamin C or the CBD, but you're also getting all the terpenes and things in the plant that are naturally found and concentrated in forms to where they really help your body. And one thing that I've noticed from those things, when you're taking those, it really helps sensitize your body a lot to the stuff that you're taking so that you absorb it better. And then it has like a longer curve when you're, using these full plant extracts versus an isolate, which is going to be more of a bell curve is what they've shown in a lot of results. And that's just because you're using one biochemical pathway over and over again. And I think with the full spectrum, or, when you're getting the whole plant compounds, it really helps your body because it's more natural, adjust to those to where it's not as much of a steep bell curve. It's more of a naturally gradually incline up. You're sustaining the effect, and then your body's resensitized when you're retaking the medicine again. So I would always shoot to and that's one thing I look for medicine is like full plant holistic extracts and not the, straight isolates and capsules and stuff that are found at a lot of places now.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. So we've got vitamin D, vitamin A, vitamin C. Another really good one is grapeseed extract. Look at dosage again online, because I'm not going to give any of that here right now. Grapeseed extract is very powerful antiviral. And a lot of the products that you find in the natural world, like, by the way, the pharmaceutical industry, where it gets all of its stuff is from the natural blueprint of our earth, which is the jungle and nature. Right? So we're taking that, we isolate it, we put it in a box, and we sell it to you for $4,000 over and over and over. That's what's happening. And so it's not the full encompassing thing like you're saying. So, we want to take the most original. So grapeseed extract is really good.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, another really good one. And I honestly, I don't think we need to go so above and beyond this. Like we could add 1,000,001 things and it's just ridiculous, you know. But you know, it gets out of hand. But I would say one of the most powerful things on the planet right now that you could utilize is colloidal silver. And colloidal silver is fantastic, specifically a silver sol or nano-sized particle. One of the products I particularly love is a company called Sovereign Silver. I'm not associated with them. We're not trying to produce any. I just really like the product. And it's so safe that you could put it, you give it to children. I've had kids that had infections in their eyes, drop a drop of it in the eye, the infection's just gone. It works that well. And, you know, back in the Old West, they used to throw silver dollars into a glass of milk and it would keep it for days or longer, no rotting, because it had a natural antibiotic characteristic to it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Yeah, I think on all these, you know, the main points to kind of summarize them with along the suggestions is finding, you know, natural plant extracts as much as you can, finding highly absorbable things as much as you can, even looking at spending a little bit more on some of these products to know that you're going to have to take less of them to be as effective and you're going to see more results on them. I think those are the two of the big things. And then overall, you know, how the best way to for bioavailable for these things. So, you know, liposomes is something we talked about. Another thing, if you have access to it, is IV. I don't know how much longer people are going to be able to do that, but I know there's people that are home IV. So if you're really sick or something, I know IV is one of the best ways to like really get a big dose right away and kind of, you know, help your body fight what it's fighting right now for whatever it is in the immune system. So that's when I think I'm more on the supplements. Some other things I always want to go into is kind of food and what you're thinking general food. I know like personally, healthy and yeah, all natural. I think some of the things that I like to talk about is bone broth. One, Kettle and Fire has those bomb soups. I don't know if you've tried them yet, but they kind of mix the bone broths in them. I really been liking soups. You know, anything with broths and chicken, you know, like chicken and stuff like that. I really feel like it's helping me right now. And overall, like just the broths and stuff will help build your immune system. And that's what we're doing with the food and vitamins and everything, is basically giving your body the right ingredients and environment so that it can fight off whatever it needs to, right, and evolve and do other things. And so, yes, we're giving it the right ingredients. I think it's important. So anything on food that you would specifically like to mention, other than just try to come as natural and organic as possible, probably?
I just tell my patients, look, let's not overcomplicate. We have made everything in human population so complicated. Just eat vegetables. Just eat the vegetables and eat organic vegetables. That's it. That's all there is to it. If you're a meat eater, eat good, clean, organic meats. Yep. And if you're not, cool. That's all I really, and bone broth, fantastic. You know, if you want to do some smoothies, cut the sugar, you know, get your sugar load down right now. So we don't, one teaspoonful of sugar will lower your immune system for up to 24, 48 hours, determining on the study. 1 teaspoon. Now, you look at a can of soda, one Coca-Cola, and it has something like 40, 50 grams. Some of these Odwalla and other products in the market that are vegan and they're vegetarian and they're vegetables and fruits, there's 60 grams of sugar. You know how much a gram is? It's like a pile. When you had chemistry class, it's a little pile. That 60 of these. That's one. The average human's eating somewhere over 200 pounds of sugar a year. Like, just cut the sugar. You know what to do. You know.
Which is hard. Like we said, people. I mean, I've noticed from cutting sugar, and as long as a lot of people have, it's like a drug. It's very much like a drug. So you'll have the cravings and drawings. They will subside over time. But like you said, I think smoothies are a great way to curb the appetite of sugar. And what I do is maybe throw banana or blueberries in there to kind of sweeten it up naturally. Avocados are really good right now. And I just load it up with greens, because when you throw like a banana, blueberries, and some greens in there, like frozen spinach or whatever it is you have, it tastes good. You can't taste the greens, and you get a large amount of greens. You know, that's what I was thinking of those smoothies that I do, and I'll put some in the notes, like some ingredients, the ones that I do. But hemp seeds, different nuts, mushrooms are really important. That's something that I really feel like overall is my number one staple that I add to it is, just a good amount of like reishi, lion's mane, turkey tail, like, a mix of mushrooms. Like I have a blend that I use. And so, Yeah, as much as you can get mushrooms and add those in, I do smoothies and coffees with it. That seems to be something that really is powerful for my immune system as well.
Aragon, really good. Aragon, the mushroom, also that and reishi, really good for lung and that sort of thing. So also really good. Yeah. So, I mean, I like to keep it really simple. There's so many people out there talking about that, and it's just, it's good, but it's like, it's very obvious. And the thing you have to recognize is the sugar that you're eating right now is not the sugar that you're eating as a kid. The ding dong today or a donut or a Twinkie is not the same when you were a little boy or girl. It's all genetically modified, which means we've tinkered with the genes of the sugar cane and the sugar beet. 99% of their crop is now genetically modified, which we don't know what that does. We just trust big fat people in black suits and ties to tell us that everything's going to be okay. It's all okay. Well, look at the state of the world. Autism, cancer, lupus, any autoimmune is off the chart like this vertical as soon as all of this change in our food and all of it, it's all changed. So eat healthy, eat organic, try to look for the most organic version, and that's pretty much the conversation there as well. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. One more too I want to cover in the body is movement, right? I think it's important since we're going to be all at our houses a lot and, sitting in the house, it's important to move around. If it's just in a room where you're at, try to move around and create a little yoga practice or something to kind of move that energy through your body. If you're sitting the whole day, if you're working the whole day, which is all, that's all good. You got to get up and move your body and get that energy flowing back, just so it doesn't stagnate and sit, because that's something else that helps your body. I always say, like, the body's an electrical system and energy is flowing through it at all times. And, those blockages and sitting and all those kind of things kind of makes those cringes in those energy systems to where you get stuck. And it causes not only maybe physical problems, but then it comes up to mental and your whole entire body. And so I think overall, like, it's important to tell people, like, to continue to move. I know not everybody has access to going outside and may not, but as much as you can move wherever it's at, and it doesn't have to be any kind of crazy routine or whatever. And I think people overly complicate it a lot. Like, I got to hit an hour a day, or, I used to work out 2 hours in the gym or an hour gym a day. Now I got to hit that here at home. I think it's more moving, whatever that means, yoga, stretching, maybe some push-ups, pull-ups, whatever is right for you, but move your body,
Yeah, 100%. Totally agreed.
Awesome.
Hugely important. And, it helps with the stress. It gets your growth hormone up. It gets your endocrine system firing much more strongly. It drops your cortisol. So these are all good things. Yeah,
absolutely. And like you said, it changes your state. You can go to a low state, and by a little movement and working out, it's magical how it literally changes your state to a positive state. So if you're ever feeling down and you're feeling like, oh crap, and kind of depressed and stuff, get up, move your body, break a little sweat, whatever you're doing, and kind of try to change that mindset and bring that vibration up. I think is really important to this.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so that's the body. I think we kind of covered a lot of the body. The next kind of bigger topic I want to kind of cover what people can do is in the mind. This is a big one right now. So what are some things, Dr. K, that you feel like in the mind that people can do, work on right now to keep a good, healthy mind, and to see things positive, keep a good attitude?
Yeah. I mean, so the mind, we don't need to do much with the mind, I don't think. I think the mind's got it covered. I think what we need to really do is bring in the heart and our connection, right? And so if we're having a lot of, so one of the things is meditation. Meditation is great. You can utilize that. But I'm a huge supporter of that. Some people have been doing transcendental meditation that I know for 50, 60 years. It's crazy. Every day, 20 minutes a day, they do transcendental meditation, or they do their meditative practice. I love all that. I've done a lot of meditation for a long time. Most of the meditation, I don't know, I'm going to get into specifics today, but we need to calm the mind. We need to it's not even about working with the mind. It's about setting the mind down, because right now, that's where everyone is. We got the mind covered. It's checked. Check the box. The mind is handled. We've got
really covered.
Mind. Yeah.
Analytical, figuring out what to do and how I can do something right now. And yes, it's overly active.
So what I like to call it is the heart-led path, right? And so I'm really about learning how to get back into our feeling body. Medical science will say there's 5 senses, right? And the 5 senses, are sound, smell, taste, touch, all that kind of stuff. Well, there's many, many senses beyond that: clairvoyance, clairsentience, clairaudience, da da da, and the feeling body, which would be under the clairsentience body. We're at the very cutting edge of the understanding of this. The gut-brain connection, the heart-brain connection, and it's about the fields. And the studies have already been done by HeartMath, by Dr. Joe Dispenza's team, and so now it's having that awareness. One of the biggest things is we've separated ourselves from us and ourselves. And for those of you out there that believe in something beyond yourself, ourselves and spirit. And for me, the fact that there's literally hundreds of millions of billions of creatures, insects, humans on this earth right now, all having their heartbeat, all having their kidneys filtering, all of them with their pH perfectly in alignment. Look, man, that just your own physical body is a living, breathing miracle. And I could definitely talk more about this, but we need to reconnect to the fact that we are in a living, breathing miracle every single day. That babies pop out of pregnant women. It's a fascinating concept, but it just happens every day. 300,000 people are born every day on this earth, and so it happens every day. And so we don't really think much about it, but it's a miracle upon a miracle upon a miracle.
100%.
The soil, just what you would look at as, oh, that's just dirt, it's totally alive. Your skin is totally alive.
Grows trees, and yeah, it's nuts. Like I said, I tell you, we don't make our heart beat. We don't have to think about our cells doing what they do or the ground growing things. That's life. That's the life force itself right there. And tapping back into that is important. Super.
Yeah, and so if we're separate from that, then we're easy to control. We're in a state of fear. We're disconnected from ourselves, from the ability to be present with one another, because you're up here. How are you, Jane? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, I'm really good. Blah, 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 blah. You're like, oh, wow. Wow, I didn't catch her name. Gosh, what did she say? That's everyone. Why? Because we're all geeked out on technology. We're all trying to find out how to make ourselves a bigger, badder castle. And guess what? The seas of time are coming. They are raging right at us, and they always are. But this is a big tidal wave, and it just knocked down billions of people's finances, safety, the castle. And so I've been referring to this for a long time. For me, in my practice, I walked away from a very, very successful $1 million practice, cash based. I was doing everything I loved because I was like, I don't want to continue to build the external castle. What happens if I let my castle fall right now and I work on building the internal palace? That way, if anything ever comes to wash my castle down, or yours, or anyone listening to this, then we have the ability to be strong always and always centered. Doesn't mean you're not going to fall and skin your knee, but it's going to mean that you're going to be able to show up more powerfully, more clearly, and more connected. And that will help you. You need, like, if you look at the military, the first thing they train a lot of the men, and they're like, I have a lot of buddies that are Marine Corps, that when explosions happen and detonations go off, the very first thing is staying centered. They have a certain type of breath techniques to use, and they say, what's in front of me? What's in front of me right here? Yep. And that's because, you're taking mortar fire right now. This is a total devastation of the economic system, and we have to recognize we need to go back to being in connection with ourselves, with our community, with our food, with our water, with spirit, where all of this flows from, this beautiful, magical thing, not just this earth, but the balance of all of our solar system, our universe. We really, really know nothing. We are such a young civilization amidst the stars. We really are young. And I do know that this all comes from something. Shit doesn't just happen. It doesn't work like that. It's not even possible.
Yeah. It's all for a reason. It's like it's coming in for a better reason, and this is where the energetic flow is right now, and something like you said is being beautifully, I feel like, born out of this too as well.
And even if it's not for a reason, right? For those out there that are a little bit more, agnostic, atheist, or just on the fence, it's like it's a hell of a lot more fun way to play. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
So we can put down dogma and religion and all of that, because this is not what this is about. It's about, how do you want to play in your life? Do you want to show up as a powerful warrior amidst the storm, or do you want to show up as an easily controlled, mindless goon? Just what's the latest? What's the information? It's like, whoa, man, center yourself. But there is no training in this. This is why the Braves and or a lot of the American Indian traditions, the warriorship they were taught to be powerful and strong and connected to themselves, the earth, and to spirit. And they had a purpose and a meaning, and we've lost all of it. And everybody's in it for themselves, just making sure they have enough toilet paper. And they're not looking at it from a standpoint of like, this is the moment, guys. This is at least... Look, these moments get bigger. There's the moment where the patient is really sick and they've got adrenal fatigue and they've got an infection like we do here right now as a global society. Some of them heed the warning and then they go out and take action. Guess what? The ones that don't, they come back and they're like, oh, I have cancer now. And it's terminal. And a lot of the people we were able to help turn around, but a lot of them, you can't. So it's a matter of heed the warning early, recognize your global position within this, and that you're fucking powerful. And we need to bring our power right now. We need to bring our beauty. A lot of us are so disconnected from it.
Agreed. You know, and back on the mind, I feel like just personally, like our minds are so programmed, and we're so in our minds right now with the news and media and all these different things. And, you know, they are, I think, taking a look, and how one thing that helps me with quieting mind and a lot of what meditation is based around is, you're not your thoughts. You don't have to associate and grab onto your thought, or you're seeing something in the news or whatever's going on out there and be like, oh man, this is me. This is me. You're not your thoughts. You're separate. You're the one noticing your thoughts, right? And if you can just look at them, I like when you said the river and the stream, and I've done that a lot in meditations, how I pictured it. Those thoughts are like the stream is going in your mind, and the thoughts are like leaves being dropped on it, right? And, you know, you can watch the leaves go down, or you can, you know, focus on them, you know what I mean? And whenever you draw your conscious awareness to something, your mind will focus in on it and, you know, try to solve solutions for it. It's a beautiful thing that we have this mind that is basically helps us take all this information and sensory input and may help us make logical decisions or things that would help us, you know, along our life. But the mind is geared towards surviving, period, and programmed for survival. And so it's going to survive and do its best based on what the collective belief is and how we feel like we need to survive. So I think taking that step back, knowing that your mind, like looking into the stream, watching the thoughts go, don't grabbing onto them, because letting them go, the more you do that, you'll see that you have less of emotions and feelings towards one particular thought, because you're able to see it as just a thought that's passing. And it's not necessarily you. It's a thought that's programmed, to be honest, for millions of years, you know, and further than that, billions of years. And so, yes, I think, you know, the mind, taking a step back and trying to keep them off the mind is really, I feel like, meditation. One more thing I was going to put out is that positive media, you know, like, you know, what you put in and what you're receiving in and inputting in is what you'll start to internalize, and what these inputs, and that's where your mind's, you know, driving these decisions off of too. And so I feel like, you know, not watching the news is fine, and I think everybody needs to stay up to date of what's going on, but maybe not watching it all day long and just hearing story after story of all this stuff is going on, because that's your world, right? Maybe get on the phone with some friends.
The whole thing in an hour.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, catch up and then go do some things with friends, community. How can you help each other? And I feel like more than anything, instead of watching media and figuring out what am I going to do, finding out like, how can I go serve right now? How are you looking at me? And if I'm consciously aware, what is being asked of me right now? Do I go, you know, put myself into and help? And I think that pulls your mind out of that state of like fear to like, all right, now I have opportunities where I'm going to help, and, you know, all these things too. So those are some comments I have on mine too.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So to get back to the heart, right? Because that was where this began. This part is, for me, what I do is I sit, I get quiet, I do some deep breaths. I do a bunch of other stuff first, but we're not going to get into that today. It's way too much. But for you listening, some of the simple things is to get quiet. And I just want you to feel what's going on. Oh, I feel tight. I feel restricted. I feel, you know, concerned. So that's the physical feeling. That's cool. Let's feel into the emotion. Let's give everything an emotion so we can work with our empathic body and feel, oh, it feels like fear. It feels like stress. It feels, you know, and I want you to get really clear. What is the emotion that you're feeling? And I want you to really allow yourself to feel it. This is a part of you. You have 9 parts, and probably many more, but based on one of the systems I've worked with, there's the skeptic, there's the injured child, there's the one that seeks the way, there's the part of you that's the protector, and a lot of it is the protector and the injured child, that most people, after doing this for forever, have been dealing with. And so, and I know this work very well, because when I set off to leave and burn my castle, right, and walk away to build the palace, I didn't go to Vegas and go play volleyball on the beach somewhere. I went and sat under a tree for 3 years in 20 different countries and just meditated and drew near and did a tremendous amount of inner work, sometimes 10, 15 hours a day. So I know this work really well. I know what it can do. And I know that this is beyond meditation. This is beyond feeling your feelings. Beyond this, once you can actually feel what's inside and move through it and let it go, you can feel beyond yourself. What's possible is the impossible, over and over and over again. That's what I really love to talk about. I don't know if we'll get into that today, but the thing is that feel what's there, really allow it to come in and sit down with you. If it takes on a face or a shape or a person, allow it to just be what it is. Allow it to speak to you. You speak to it. You ask it, what are you here to teach me? And then you kind of step back from it and you're just able to observe, like, wow, I see this whole thing. There's so much fear here. And the fear is this, I have a fear of death, and it's like, okay, cool. Well, guess what? You can be afraid of death but it's going to happen. So that means you're afraid your whole life. So it's like, so then you're able to step back, neutrally observe it, and just breathe and let it go. And when you're able to let it go, that frees you up to bring in, what do I really choose to show up with? Because I can show up as a warrior with fear, or I can show up with as a warrior with like faith and conviction, and that's what we need. And that takes us from a cell of the human body on the planet to a white blood cell, where we're at impact. We're in charge of ourselves and the world around us in a way through love, not through force, not masculine force, but through feminine power of love, acceptance, gratitude. And that's the only way this is going to change. The government can't do it. Sending people $1,000 checks, what we were talking about earlier, or whatever, for people that aren't working. Oh, sorry, we bankrupted the whole planet. Here's $1,000. That sounds really nice, but it's not going to do it. That's not the answer. There is a deep, deep pain and fear and sadness amongst all humans right now that are paying attention. They're feeling it in their body. We have to get aware of that. People are feeling anxious. They're crying. Being aware of how to feel and move this energy is what makes you powerful. Moving your body, shaking it out. You already know what to do. Google a video on that. But you really need to be aware, like, how do I bring it in?
100%. I like what you said, too, about how you have them sit down and feel it, right? And name it and feel it. And I think that's the biggest thing that people get, because like when you're sitting down like this for the first time, if you've never meditated or if you're new to it, like what you'll notice is that, it's hard to just sit. Like your mind's going to be racing, and then you're going to have these things. And what you typically want to do, and what people try to do, is they avoid it. They're like, I don't want to feel that fear. I don't want to feel that, anger or sadness or whatever like that. I don't want to feel it. It's too intense. And then they stuff it and they kind of push it down, or they distract themselves maybe with the mind or something else. And they're not really feeling those things. When you're not feeling them, they just build and they're sitting. You're not really experiencing it in full. And so I love what you were saying about, that's one thing that's been really helpful in my life when I started switching on a lot of meditation. It's been some big growth, is sitting and really feeling where your heart's hurting. And like it has nostrils in it, and you're literally just breathing through it. And it kind of gets to a point wherever that energy is, at least for me, it gets hotter and hotter and hotter to red hot to kind of dissolving and dissolving and just feeling into that. And, you've done some work with me too, Kieran. I appreciate that. The same thing. And, I think paying attention to it, facing those head on, whatever those emotions are, and breathing into them. And, they're going to come up. And what I would say too, is I feel like from what I've gathered on myself is that, these energies might start all over in your body, but they typically, for me at least, travel towards my heart. If I'm able to dissolve them there and really stay in my body about these feelings and what they're feeling and just feeling into them, it doesn't go to my mind as much. It gets dissolved here before the fear didn't get dissolved. And now it's in my head, now trying to make stories of how I can protect myself, from this. And then you're in that loop again. So
yeah, absolutely. And one thing I want to say is, and you said it beautifully, is to also be aware that we're not doing this to get rid of the feeling. What we're doing is we're inviting in the deeper states of you. After so many clients and living my own life, I know that everyone deep down inside has, so many of them, is it's not safe. The world isn't safe. There's a belief around, there's a lot of people, very religious people, that are angry at the state of the world and therefore angry at God. You'd be surprised, like preachers, priests, devout Christians, that they're so angry and confused because they're so dedicated to their religion, but they see so much destruction and they're like, how could God create this? And so what people are, there is deeply, deeply a disconnection between, oh yeah, God is great, and life is good, and people are totally shoving down this deep state stuff in their emotional field, and what that creates is a deep separation from ourselves, and it creates a lot of pain. And so owning really what's there and inviting it in for a cup of tea, to sit down, not to masculine get rid of it, right? My lighting's getting weird. Not to masculinely force it out. We are invited. This is you. This fear, this anxiety, this terror, that's you. So we don't want to try to force it out. And you didn't say anything like that, but I just wanted to make sure it was really clear for people listening. Yeah. And this is different than meditation, because meditation is alpha theta, right? You go from negative, difficult, whatever, or just normal life into neutral. And then so you go from negative life, you go into neutral, and then you kind of go back down again. Versus the kind of work that I really love to do is going from negative or neutral into your life, and then you actually feel all of this stuff, which may be a momentary spike, and then you go this way. You go exponential. You come out of it freaking empowered. You come out centered, and you're like, man, this is what I know I need to do. This is the one thing I need to do right now. You will be amazed, and I know you've had this experience when you're meditating. And I probably shouldn't use that word because that gets confusing. It's not really just meditation. You're getting really clear with you're listening to you. You're having a full conversation.
Yep.
And when you can have that conversation again and you get back in alignment with you, you are very powerful. You're not wavered. You're not shakeable, because you realize, man, I have beauty in my life. I have passion in life. I have gratitude in my life. I'm grateful for every moment of every day. And none of us get out of here alive. And so I can relax and be calm amidst the storm. And we need heart-centered leaders right now.
Absolutely.
That's more important than the vitamin C. That's more important than the movement and the shakes. Oh, yeah. It's centered always, because there's this story. I forget the man where they locked him up in the prison camps in the whole Nazi Germany. I forget his name. And but always centered, connected to spirit, connected to what the space that beats his heart, religion and dogma aside, the space that beats his heart. And he would focus on the beauty of the flowers, and anything can be a walk of connection. And that's, the Buddhist philosophy is very, very much life is suffering. There's no way you're going to get out of it. You buy a puppy, the puppy dies, or you die and the puppy's sad, but one of you is not making it out of here. And life has pain involved. You can drink water or you can drown in it. You can bathe in the sun or be burned to death in it, especially up where I'm living on the mountain.
Yeah, me too.
Like, really, it's the dichotomous nature of the universe. It's just the way the rules are. I didn't make them. I think they're pretty rigged too. But it's how we show up as warriors, learning how to use those elements, that I want everyone to walk away from here hearing. And be aware that I really enjoyed this today with you, and I want to do more of this where we dive deeper,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's a great idea, and I definitely would like to do that. And I think to wrap this up for the last topic or the last segment was just the spirit, which we've kind of been talking about, in the heart and how that all ties in. And for some things, and spirit is, one is my intentions are big. I set intentions every day of, what is going on in my life and what I want to become, and basically like it's already done. And I feel like, a lot of people have, when they have these intentions or what, their spirit line up with, they don't have the vibrational, they're not ready in their life to fully receive it at the time. And so that's why I feel like getting your spirit and doing that inner work to where you know what you want and your intentions are clear and you're in the process, you're in the right vibrational to receive that. That's where things are magical and they start to happen. And I think, to me, spirit is mainly like, I'll just start first, is the service that we have, the actual life and the real life. That's the only thing, is the present moment we have right now. It's constantly changing. And so, paying attention to that conscious moment and how you're able to serve and what is life bringing to you in your little moment. Like, I know you've known this too, is like, we've met each other. We've met other magical people like that have like, are like, oh my gosh, along our path that is like perfect for us. But if you're in your head, if you're thinking about too much things, you miss all these opportunities because you're not kind of in the flow of life and seeing what it's bringing. You're hanging on to what your vision of that life is, right? And to me, that's ultimately, like, I think spirituality or spirit is just like flowing with life in the conscious, because that's the only thing that's true is right then, and the rest are just ideas of what we think may happen or past ideas of what we thought happened at that point in time. The only thing we have is present, So I'll start with that, but I'd like to get your thought on your spirit and how that ties. You've already been doing that really well, but.
So one of the things I realized while I was traveling, I was really blessed because it's a unique experience, and I'm not telling you this because yay me, I didn't have children or a wife or all this. I left my whole life and traveled for 3 years with the backpack, like I spoke about. One of the things that I found that is I was in dedication to, I'm going to follow my heart. I'm only going to listen to what my intuition says. I'll sit, I'll meditate. Should I go to this country? Should I go to that country? Go to that country. Oh, well, my mind wants to go to this country. This doesn't make sense. I would only follow my heart. It was so fun. It was the coolest experiment of my life. And I only would follow the heart. And guess what? I would go and I would climb up on a mountain. I'd go up to the top and I'd say, should I go left or I should go right? Go right. And then I would sit down, and then I should sit here or sit there. And I would just listen to the space that beats your heart. And I would sit down, and no joking, my friend Aaron is sitting there. Kieran, what are you doing in this country on top of this mountain?
That's how it goes.
When I was in Iceland, the bus dropped me off at the end of the road, like at the middle of nowhere. And there's a gas station, and it's the last thing for like 50 miles where I'm supposed to get to this house. I didn't know where I was going. I'd come from Guatemala, and I had my backpack, and I was like, oh my God. And I was like, is there any cars I can rent? No, not in this area. Is there any, can I get an Uber? Like, we don't have that out here, man. You're in the middle of nowhere. There's no buses, there's no taxis. So I went inside the gas station. I said, okay, I know my heart wants me here, so I'm going to trust this. I went inside the gas station. I'm just going to use the restroom before I figure it out. I'm going to stay centered. I'm like, oh my God. And this guy goes, Kieran, what are you doing here? And I was like, what are you doing here? His name is Armand. And I had met him years ago in Daytona Beach, Florida, which is a really strange place. But yeah. I met him there. And he's like, I said, what are you doing here? And he goes, what are you doing here? You're in my country. He's Icelandic. And I said, man, he goes, what do you need? And I said, I need a car. He's like, oh, I have a car. You can just borrow mine. I have an Audi. Here you go. Yeah. Drive to the house, drop off your stuff. When I'm done, you come pick me up, and then I will take you from there. He apparently owns some gas stations or something. And so it's always provided. It's always given. And when your mind is tapped into a fear machine, they can pump you with this fear, right? Whether it's malevolent or they're just trying to give you data because they really care about you, which I don't think it's the latter. If you're being pumped full of it, you're missing the magic. There is such a magic and such an unfoldment that is happening when we're not like, okay, at 8 o'clock, I got to get the kids to school, and then I got to get to work, and then I got to pay the tax man, and then I got to go pick up Chipotle and feed these kids this GMO food, and then I got to watch Netflix, and then I got to do this, and wonder why my relationship with my husband isn't working out, and then I need to go to bed and do it all again tomorrow, and the weekends just catch up. There's zero room for magic. We have severed ourselves from spirit, since that's the conversation. And it's the slowing down. We have a really wonderful detention that we've been given right now, where we're sitting in our rooms, but better than that, with our children, where we can show up in a powerful, centered way. This is the most important thing. Let this really hit home. Is if as the Toltec would say, right? The Toltec tradition, one of the most ancient traditions, it's a philosophy of life. Or the Achuar Indians I had the privilege to stay with in the jungle in Ecuador. Really amazing human, amazing just connected community to the earth. They're not really contacted by all this mess. Yep. Probably they don't even know or care that this thing is going on in the world. They're like, they're probably I mean, they've been waiting for this. Anyways, the point being is that it's about awakening in the dream, that this is a dream. And
Mm-hmm.
I myself, I am not perfect. I am a human, perfectly flawed, just like everyone listening here, is I fall asleep in my own dream, meaning I'm in my life and then I get stressed. I'm in my life and I'm like, ooh, what's going to happen? And then I say, whoa, pinch yourself, Kieran. How are
Yeah.
you going to show up as a warrior
Yep.
amidst the dream? So it's a warrior of love where you're the peaceful warrior, you're centered, and you show up, man, this is a huge opportunity for me to be a leader. It's a huge opportunity for me to give my gifts. It's a huge opportunity to start to empower the world and really get the wake-up call, the knock from the universe to say, dude, you need to step up. It's not the guy leading the free world that's supposedly that's going to change it. It's us. It's us.
Yeah. It's all of us. Yep. Internally.
So that's what I'm saying when I talk about spirit.
No, 100%. I think, like, build on that right now in these times. And I'm coming from Oklahoma, and remember that these huge tornadoes that would come through and ravage, the town. And one thing that would always be cool that I would see from that is, like, literally businesses and companies and people would stop work during these times for the next 3 or 4 days and go help and serve, picking up stuff and being, active, anything they could do to help, serve. And it was beautiful. Everybody came together, didn't matter the race, the gender, or, what that person's beliefs are. It was really about just helping each other. And I really feel like I've seen a lot of that. We hear the news, but I've seen and have been talking to groups and been hearing from people online finding basic needs they can meet for people, for food, single moms, single parents, whatever it is, that where they just need food right now, or something, very basic needs, and where people are all over trying to figure out how to figure out and fill these needs. And I was like, if we focus on those things and how we can go out and serve and help and put all this trash down, I think that's one of the beautiful things that can really come from this. So like I said, I think service is a big one right now. And that's kind of spirit to me, is what is playing out in your actual life right now. When you're paying attention, how can you engage yourself and go serve and help people? And I feel like that's, leading with the heart, like we've kind of been talking about. So, man.
And what a great thing, a tragedy like this, a cancer, a worldwide supposed pandemic, a deep upset, an earthquake, a hurricane, or whatever, that brings people together. And it's just, it wakes us out of our little dream about us and only our family, and not even that, it's just about us. It wakes us out of the dream. And it's just so, I don't know why the human proclivity of the hero's journey is to wait until the dragon is over you, breathing its fire on your face and cooking you like a hot dog, that you finally have to recognize, wow, what's important to me? Like, slap yourself today. Literally, I've literally done that. I'm not saying slap yourself. I'll let you slap me.
Slap yourself. Everybody slap yourself today.
But like, I literally have, like, in when I get into my space, if I get scared or afraid or upset, whatever, we're not even just talking about Corona, just life. I've literally done it if I needed to, where you say, wake yourself from the dream, slap yourself to remember who you are, that you are a powerful being, that you're here, that you're created, and that you create. Whether you were created or not, you are here and you're a creator. And you can go in a room and ruin the whole bunch, and a bad apple spoils the bunch, and be negative and terrible and, or you can walk in there like a light, like our friend Jess, and she lights up the whole room. Yep. Light the room. That's what you are. You're a warrior of the light, and remember that, and don't let the world dampen it.
And it's contagious. If you're light, you're contagious, and then it spreads again faster. So I completely agree, man.
Go out and spread the light. That's it.
Yeah, what I was going to say, thank you for joining me, Kay. I really appreciate it. Appreciate our conversation. I hope to have some more. And I think we can maybe do some really cool content ongoing with some cool stuff. So thank you for joining me, and I really appreciate it.
Great. Love that. Yeah, thank you so much, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds great, man. Have a great day, and see everybody.
Okay. All right. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you.